Welcome to the Soul Archaeology Podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Soul Archaeology Podcast. This is a very special episode because it is not just me talking. I also have my dear friend here, Becca Kannapell, who is an intuitive crystal seer, a movement therapist, a jewelry designer, and astrologer. And she's also the co-founder of Pound Jewelry, which is, if you know me, a company that I'm so passionate about and I love so much, and I wear all of their products. And it's a family-conceived jewelry company that carries the core belief that crystals and objects hold magic and meaning. So, welcome, Becca. Thank you for being here, my love.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to chat with you about all things magic.
I know. And this is you're my first guest.
I know, and I feel so honored and so excited. And when I saw you were launching a new podcast, I was like, A, yay, B, maybe I'll get to go on.
Yes. I love it too because when you sent me your chart just to kind of reference during this, I was like, "Oh my God, that's right. North Node in Leo. This is your time to activate that." So,
Yeah, and you're Leo too. When you mentioned your midheaven in Leo, I was like, oh, makes so much sense. It's just that
yeah.
that being seen.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I don't have any planetary placements there, but just it's my midheaven. So
Yep.
it's not something that I kind of have to work with it, to feel comfortable to open into that space. But we're all, wherever Leo's lands in your chart, we're all being initiated in that space currently, and Aries, of course. So it's a big time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
with Leo being, I think North Node is the only placement I have in Leo. And so it is also something that I don't feel I was necessarily born with, but something I'm moving more towards. And just that, um, yeah, letting go of the fear of being seen.
Yeah, I think and it's also in your 12th house, you
I
know?
know.
So it's sort of like hidden down there that it's part of your life's work to unlock that. So I love and yeah, I love that this it's interesting because when I was thinking about this podcast, I worked with my friend who's an incredible astrologer, Kristen Erlacher, and she does really great like predictive astrology. And she's like, what do you want this podcast to feel like? And I was like, I just want it to be light. Like, yes, we're going into the depths, it's soul archaeology, we're doing underworld work, but I want it to be rooted in light, and surrounded by light, and just feel that high frequency. And so Leo, of course, was a perfect time to launch it. And then um it's I really wanted people's voices to be heard and for people to be seen who I know hold so much magic within them. So I know you've been on many podcasts before, but thank you for being here. So
Yeah, I truly am really grateful to be here. And I love that intention of just having it be light, light when you launched it with all of that, serious Leo lion energy coming through, but then also just light, like not so dense, not a struggle, just to let it flow, let it go.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. I'd love to talk first about, well, I want to talk about you, of course, and your story and how you've landed in this space of being such a powerful channel and creator of magic and light. But also, I wanted to start by explaining how we know each other, which is full of magic as well. Our serendipitous connection. And so, I guess I'll just start talking about that, and we can collaborate on the story.
Yes.
But yeah, what's interesting is I came to a circle that I think your mom was there too, maybe, held at St. Louis Float.
Oh
And I want to say it
my
was back in
God.
like, yeah, was it, I think maybe 2018,
Yep.
I want to say, or
Yep.
early 2019. I can't remember, but I was like, ooh, she's a magical being. And at that time, I didn't know anyone that was interested in astrology or crystals or anything, like that besides my friend Ellie. And she invited me to this group, and you were there and you presented, I think it was a new moon circle, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave us a tiny little Herkimer diamond. And I was like,
Yes.
oh my God. Yeah. Wild. I don't know if we've ever talked about that.
We have not ever talked about that, and that is crazy. That is crazy on so many levels um because I didn't know that you were there. Like I don't remember that. That's not in my conscious awareness, but the fact that that was the stone, the crystal that I spoke about on that evening in that small, like we were kind of in the lobby area and there was like a sound bath.
Yep.
Um, yep. And so then I spoke about that and about the Herkimer diamond and like planting seeds and new intentions and the power of the Herkimer diamond to like hold our intentions and to magnify that which we're wishing to make manifest in our lives or to put out there. And so like that little seed planted on that new moon, and then many, I guess it was in, well, it wasn't that long after that I moved to Topanga, California, and I was living there, and a friend of ours, a mutual friend, wrote me and said, this girl I know, Allie, just moved to the canyon and you should definitely hang out and meet up. And I was like, awesome, will do. And then before I even had a chance to write you, I had gone into Moonistar, into the boutique, and they were like, this girl was in and she bought a Herkimer diamond necklace and she knows you and she knows a pound. And I was like, who's that? And then it turned out it was you. So the
That's
Herkimer
wild.
seeded intention like continued its thread and unwound itself until we met.
Literally. It's
Yeah.
so wild. I forgot that the Herkimer was part of it in that circle until literally right now, because I still have that little tiny Herkimer, and it's so
My God.
special. Yeah.
That's
I know. I
crazy.
know.
And then talk
I
about
know.
light. Like that is the Herkimer is, I mean, Herkimer is, crystal quartz and but that's what crystal quartz does. It like refracts light. It is light. It allows light to pass through it. It bends light. It clarifies things. It opens things. It opens portals. And so it's just, and then it's become your talisman that I've noticed, since you received yours. That's what you wear all the time. It's like, you and the Herkimer are very connected. And so just love
We
that.
are. Yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I've never made the connection that it is my talisman, but it is. Like I remember in that circle you were talking about where, that comes from Herkimer, New York, and all of these things. And I think your mom was there because
She
she's
was.
unforgettable, number one. But yeah. And I was just like, these two ladies are rad. I need to know them. But then, my life kind of not imploded, but I sort of blew it up a little bit and decided to go off to Europe for a while. And then when I landed back, I moved to Topanga. That was December of 2019. And I remember there were a few people that were sort of, um, that were kind of like connecting us in a way. It was our friend Mora, and then this person I knew just coming, just literally before I even moved here, I met this person, and they were like, "Wait, I know someone else from St. Louis," and it was a friend of a friend, but it was just wild. So we were both in Topanga at the same time, pre-COVID, for just a very, very short period of time, but it was enough to ignite our, you know, our
Lock
connection, our
us
magical
in.
connection. Yes. Exactly, lock us in. So, and I met so many incredible people through you. And so it's just been, yeah, such a gift. And then you, during COVID, moved back to St. Louis, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I I'm not from St. Louis, but my family, my mom is from St. Louis, and so when I was in undergrad, in like 1999, 2000, my first year out there, an undergrad in Arizona, my family moved back here to where my mom is from, into the house that she grew up in, which is a place that I had come always growing up to visit my grandparents, my mom's whole side of the family. And then it became home because it was where my family was rooted again, when I left undergrad, so around 2003. And then I had lived many places, lived in New York City for about 8 years, and then Chicago, um, and then I came back to St. Louis for a little while, and then I lived in Topanga. Then pandemic hit, and I came back to St. Louis, because I really needed to be here, and I wanted to be here, but I needed to be here for the jewelry business because everything is made, um, handmade here at my mother's home, which is where my office is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, and COVID was such a wild time of sort of breaking any systems we had in place, so it just brought us exactly where we needed to be, and so you were meant to be there during that time to do a lot of work. I know you've done a lot of soul work while you've been in St. Louis as well, so that land has been calling
Yeah.
you too.
Yeah, and just connecting to the land here, and also connecting to the magical portal that is like the house my mom grew up in, where, um, we really birthed the business here. So I was living in New York City, and I was working in a hospital as an occupational therapist. And I had come back here to St. Louis to this house and found a necklace that my mom had made when I was like in high school, because she used to make us necklaces growing up. And she would make them for my sister and I, and then for all of our friends, for all of the dances or big events, recitals. She did costumes. She's just very creative. And and so yeah, I found this necklace she had made, and I was going through this dark night of the soul, Saturn return. I was 29 years old, didn't know what was going on, didn't know much about astrology, just had a major health crisis, and found this necklace. And the necklace, like, sparked, like, it sparked me back to life. It, like, brought me back to a remembering from childhood of, like, the things that brought me into that state of enchantment, pleasure, freedom, joy, which was crystals and stones and things that carried magic, and making little underground caverns with crystal balls and dress up and glitter and sequins. And that was very my mom. My mom was like very colorful. Everything had sequins. She's had bright turquoise blue nail polish since she was 17. And so, yeah, it just like kind of brought me back to this inner world of color and light and magic and beauty that I wasn't being fed very much in the hospital setting. And that was when I decided that we would start a jewelry business.
I love it so much. That is, I mean, that's what this podcast is all about, and I know we talked about this before we hopped on, but I just find the people I resonate with so deeply have gone through many of those initiations and those returning to selves, and um, the process of of that sort of initiation, that necklace initiating you back on a journey back to yourself, a remembering is just so powerful. And it really says a lot about the power of the stones, and the power of beauty and the power of magic. And you are certainly one of the most magical uh beings I know, because magic is just it's so present in your life, and you honor it and you cherish it and you live that way. So it's incredible to move from an environment like a hospital, which is just, you're so often just moving through survival and just getting through each day and seeing so much trauma and chaos and turmoil, and it can really take a toll on your psyche and on your nervous system. So the returning back to yourself through the stones is pretty, it's like Outlander. It's pretty magical.
I've gotten that Outlander reference a few times, and I recently went to Ireland. I know that Outlander is in Scotland, but just with the stone circles and the magical portals, and when I was out there, I had this one jacket when I was in Ireland. This was in June, and someone's like, "You look like Claire." She was Australian. "You look like Claire from Outlander. You've got to watch the show." I was like, "Okay, I will." I haven't watched it yet, but I will. But yeah, I mean, I've been reflecting a lot on that lately, and just like I always knew that. I mean, to bring it back to astrology too, it's like I have a lot in Virgo Pisces axis, Virgo rising, so descendant in Pisces, but there is a lot of this just like really wanting to help heal. And then with the North Node in the 12th house, which means South Node in the 6th house, which is also connected to Virgo, and just wanting to be of service and to help, and also kind of that medical healer vibration. I studied dance always growing up, and then I studied yoga right after undergrad, and I became a yoga teacher, and then I went to occupational therapy school, and I was just like studying the body movement, like healing through the body and helping others heal their body and their bodies. And then there was just something about, I mean, it is also Gemini sun. I get bored easily, but there was something about the day in, the day out, just like I have to come here every single day from 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Like, I think that in and of itself during the Saturn return was like, oh, hell no. And then there was also just this need for adventure. There was need for change. There was need in a lot of ways to be empowered enough to kind of be my own boss and to see how that could work out. There were so many elements of who I was becoming, and a part of shedding who I was trained, raised, or culturally, um, in a way, formed to be. And I really liked playing by the rules. I really wanted to be perfect. I mean, I made like contracts with myself from a very young age, like, you will be perfect, you will do it right, you will get straight A's, you will follow the correct path that will lead you to the things that everyone around you says are the things that you're supposed to want out of this life. And there was something that just kind of woke up at that Saturn return time, that the body became very loud, which it does when maybe you need to recalibrate or shift perspective on like what you want your future to be, or what you want your present to be. Even just like, is this fulfilling me? Is this fulfilling my soul contract? And is this bringing the most healing to the people around me, that I can bring, into myself simultaneously? And the answer at that time was no. So then I shifted, and I found, through following the spark of joy, really, like the magic, the beauty, the healing, just by looking at a crystal or a stone, and like the world that exists in them, led me to seeing how that was like a doorway to helping other people in a way I didn't know was even possible.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I have your chart pulled up here. while you're speaking, and so many things were pinging. Number one, your south node in the sixth house of health of Virgo, your north node in the house of Pisces. I'm a Pisces north node, so I feel like that's part of our kind of connection too, but that,
Totally.
yeah, your Saturn in the first house, and the body, how the body brought you into your initiation, the body initiated
Totally.
you back to yourself. Total reset of your identity, and having to let go of those, the Virgo aspects that, want to be perfect and want to have it all together, and in the desire to purify and distill down to perfection and clarity. So, but it's cool because, of course, you're using your Virgo qualities, of course, now in the work you're doing, and finding, and I when I think of crystals, I often think of Virgo, which is interesting, but it's like the clarity and the beauty of it, and the distilling down to um things being so pure. And
Yes.
you have that Jupiter and that Mars in Virgo as well, that's it's like helping you find the magic in that purity.
Absolutely. I love that you said that crystals remind you of Virgo. I never really thought of that because, people often say, what is a crystal or stone for my, sign, or what's my birthstone? Um, but stones in general being connected to Virgo makes sense in that Virgo is an earth sign, but it's mutable. And like the crystals, the stones all come from the earth, but they're always changing and they're always, metamorphosizing, and they're always growing. Like the Herkimer diamond has been growing literally 500 million years. It's pre-Neolithic. So they they've been with the earth and in the earth, and like recording these moments in time as the earth has shifted and changed, and um, as they come from the depths of the caverns of the earth up to the surface to be, you know, to be held as sacred objects. And so I love that with the Virgo
it's
connection. And yeah,
it's magical. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, magical is almost like a simple way to put it, but when I look at a stone, I just cannot believe that it comes from the earth. I mean, the earth is so incredible and magical and beautiful in all of its ways, but these, like what I have on my neck, this Herkimer is, you said 500 million years old?
500 million years. Yeah. And like some of them will have little specks of black in them. That is this mineral that gets dusted inside the crystal as it's growing, which is called anthraxolite. And it's like a pre Neolithic plant mineral. So um, some of them will carry these like plant life from 500 million years ago inside your
Oh my
crystal.
gosh.
And that's the case with so many stones. It's like the world of stones is like never ending. It's like when you start learning about astrology, you realize that there's just more and more. It's a never ending void of like just so much magic, wisdom, so many different things to learn about, to know. And I listen to astrology podcasts and things, and even listening to you, there's just these connections to times past, connections to, we can't even fathom, the what's out there. And so it's just constant learning. And it's the same with the stones from the earth. And I feel like when you're looking into a crystal, or at least this has been my experience and working with them for the like more seriously over the last 15 years, like you can see these symbols, these codes, and like the eternal nature of the cosmos like live inside the crystals in a way, and they become these really powerful symbols that I feel connect the earth to the heavens, and the earth to the planets, and the earth to all these energies that we are receiving that we can't see, because you can't see necessarily the energy coming off of a crystal unless you have the scientific the laboratory set up to like witness some of those unseeable things. But they're in everything. Crystal quartz is why we can use computers and cell phones and headphones, and um, they're just, the nature of them is eternal.
Yeah. I love that you said that about it's like the cosmos within the earth, because it shows the like the innate vastness of not only our cosmos, our universe, the magic that's held in that, the unknown that's held in that, but also the unknown that's held and the magic that's held in the earth. And I mean, I think that they said that we know less about the like parts of the ocean than we do about space. And there's
Whoa.
just so much that isn't that wild? I know. I mean, you think about it, like I mean, there's still probably thousands of unidentified species that are held in our oceans, and we might never know, and that's okay too. But I love it because there's, I think, an important part of even spirituality, and I think an important part of the human experience is sorry, is admitting that we just don't know, you know, and
Yes.
the magic in the unknown, and the amount of faith and trust that it requires to sort of surrender to that unknowing. Um, and that's where spirituality and science get a little can butt heads a little bit, but they're starting to merge, I think. So even like, studying the energetics of crystals, and it is so fascinating to me. So I love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's interesting because I was thinking about how when we started this company, which I founded with my sister and my mom, because my mom, she has always, like I said, made jewelry and um, been a creative her whole life. And my sister is truly an artist as well. And she studied film and photography and cinematography, but also pottery and painting. And I mean, she's one of those people that can kind of just do anything with her hands, which is, I've always been very envious of. A lot of my creativity is sourced more from my like mind and my inner state. But as far as like hand making things, it's like not a cute situation. Um, so I'm so lucky to have those two Capricorns. But so I was thinking, when we got into this, okay, like when I was little, yeah, who that is a little child doesn't love crystals and shiny objects? I think most do. Um, when I was like 5, I named my first cat Crystal, and then Crystal was calico, and she had a brother who was all black. And I said to my mom, "What's the name for a black crystal?" And she said Onyx. So the cats were Crystal and Onyx. So obviously there was an imprint in me. That was what I collected, treasures, treasures and sacred objects, and going through my mom's jewelry box and crystals and rocks. But when when I decided that it would be that it was, I didn't even decide. My soul said, or spirit, soul, something in me said, something much wiser than me said, "You're doing this. Like, it was just like a pull. It was like, oh, this way." And it wasn't about the healing benefits of crystals and stones, though, on a conscious level at all. It was adornment. It was the art of like putting something on your body. And like, so it came from this embodied place and this adoration and maybe inner, I don't know if this is the right word, but the word coming through is like exaltation. It just felt like this lifting sensation to put something that you love on your body, so ears, neck, throat, heart, hands, sensory spots, that it just feels like that's what's meant to be done, and it has been done. So the whole like origin point was, there was a pulse that said, put things on your body, like that you love and that are beautiful and that feel good. And so then after creating pieces and sharing them with people, that was when it kind of morphed into like, wow, people are receiving some really epic and amazing experience and transformations around their necklace or their bracelet. And so that was really when I started going deep into the never ending information around the healing power of stones and crystals. And so I don't know, I just wanted to bring that forward because I made that connection this morning where I was like, oh, but it was really like pound at its essence, which one of the definitions for pound is to beat with force or vigor, such as the heart. So, like this very heart centered initiation that came from a need to heal my own body was by placing beautiful things that meant something to me on my body, you know?
Yeah, I love it. It's like, once again, tying back to that, like your Virgo qualities and your Saturn in the first house and returning back to the body, returning back to, your all the magic held in your bones and the wisdom held there, and tapping back into that to retrieve it, to create beautiful pieces and objects for people, for healing. And I love that it's not, I think something I love about your work, and I love about Pound, is that it's not just about, the healing qualities of the crystals, or that it's, that this specific crystal carries these qualities that can, create a resonance within you, but also that they're just so beautiful, and that the way you display them and the way you work with them is to create beauty, and creating that beauty for people. Of course, I'm a Libra, so beauty is such an important part of this lived experience for me, and seeing beauty activates something within me that's very important. And so I'm not a big jewelry wearer. I love jewelry and I love the creativity and the beauty behind it, but for me, like the simplicity of my Herkimer and when I got it, and there's so much symbolism behind when I got it, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but it was also just so strikingly beautiful and simple, and something I knew I could keep on and wear, and it would be timeless. But your pieces are just so stunning, and they do remind me of like ancient Egypt, and this honoring of beauty, which is such a part of the lived experience here. And I think we've, in some ways, like kind of lost touch with that in our Western world. I think we've lost touch with reverence and beauty in certain ways. And of course, it's a part of our culture because we see, people are always striving for like this, this specific beauty threshold that we've created as a society. But I think we've forgotten what it feels like to live in beauty, you know? um and even like the buildings we create, and you go to Europe and it's like the structures are made to be beautiful, and I love that you have that within the framework of your work, is beauty and adornment.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I like to say how sometimes people and their dogs kind of look alike sometimes. You know, that whole thing, like you'll see
Oh
somebody
yeah.
walking down the street. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I picked my dog because she had this ear situation and I had an ear situation and I was like, we kind of look alike and you have a lot of anxiety and so did I when I was little and I still do. And I just think we're meant to be together. But it's like the same with crystals, you know, like you look like your crystal. Like I'll see people because I've done, you know, so many pop-ups. And so as people are going to select their crystal, when they finally choose the one, or oftentimes very quickly choose the one, I'm like, you chose that one because it looks like you. And I don't mean exactly literally, but energetically, like you're very Venusian and you have this very Venusian Libra-esque look to you, and in a lot of ways. And then that's the Herkimer, and especially the Herkimer you chose, it has like this little tinge of like yellow in it, like it matches your hair, you know. And I just love that when I see people, and that's the other thing that I love about pound jewelry is just watching people, or being the guardian or curator person who gets to share these beautiful pieces is that to watch how people's bodies respond to the one they're meant to go home with, or that they're meant to wear, or to have in their keeping for a period of time. Just like it always, you can just feel it. It's like a click, like two magnets coming together, you know?
I love it. Yeah, that's so incredible. So how do you encourage people to choose a crystal based upon something specific, or is it just like an intuitive pull, or what can you say around that?
So there's a bunch of different ways. There's a bunch of different ways. It's like if I'm in person with somebody, they'll say, if I'm in person with someone, a lot of times people say, what does this one mean? What does this one mean? What's this one for? Especially if they're more new to stones and crystals. And I will generally encourage them to pick up and place on their body the ones that they're naturally drawn to before they know anything about them. Because if you're in person with it, like you can generally feel like, oh, something feels right about this one on me. And so it's kind of
Right.
this empowering place where it's like, we don't have to know anything from an analytical, logical place because our body knows. Um, and there's just so much truth to that. And so that's what I encourage when people are in person. Um, and then I'm taking this class with, it's called Global Paco School, and it's with these native Aboriginal Pacos from Peru who, I'm studying just more earth based practices and um, earth reverence and nature, like praying to the nature beings and connecting with nature. And there they call the computer, because we connect through Zoom, like they'll say, thank you to the heart of the computer for like bringing us together, because we can't be together without the computer because they're in Peru. And so when people are picking their necklace, and I'll copy from them through the heart of the computer, it's like, again, kind of going to what you're drawn to. Like, where do your eyes go first? Like, what pulls you? Because you can connect through, when you're not physically there. So what people are drawn to. And then if they have more questions, it's like, well, what are you calling in your life? Or like, what are you going through? Is relationships, is that a big thing going on with you? Heartbreak, illness? Is it physical stuff going on? Is it something about protection, like you're feeling overwhelmed and bombarded? And then there's information on the website, like kind of describing each stone, so people can then go to it from that, like, oh, I really need this energy in my life. And once again, it's like, though there are those written words that help us, because language obviously is genius. But it's like language makes everything a lot easier. But it's, yeah, like, you can connect to, it's like how we connect to poetry. It's like something just pulls us in or it doesn't. And so that's the same with the stones. Well, like, you'll be drawn to it or you won't. And everybody will be a little different.
Yes, I love that. And I've been drawn to different stones periodically. I am always drawn to opal. It just is
Yeah.
something I love. I love the luminescence, the sort of like I don't even know if that's the right word, the luminescent quality of it. Is it luminescent in opal?
It's luminescent. It has this, I want to say labradorescence, but that's more labradorite. There is another word, but it's like this, that I'm blanking on, but just this glittering, gleaming auric refraction of rainbow light. It's got all the
Yeah.
colors of the rainbow in an opal.
Yeah.
It's
I
just,
love
they're just,
opals.
yeah, and they're made of like water and light.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're very opalescence. That's what it's called, opalescence.
Opalescence. There we go. That
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, it's It's a stone that I've always been really drawn to, and I remember I got like a little tiny opal ring from my mom when I was younger, and it's the Libra birthstone or one of them too. So I it's just it makes me feel like mermaids and magic and yeah, it's beautiful. But the Herkimer in particular, I wanted to talk about that and why I was so drawn to it and what it's truly facilitated in my life. Like I feel sometimes when I wear it, I feel like it's just a portal opening, and it's kind of like almost like gently nudging me into my power, into using my voice, channeling my truth. And when I got my Herkimer, I just moved to Topanga. I think it was like the first day I was here. I went to Moonistar, I got a facial, and then I went and had this just shopped in that beautiful, beautiful store, and I saw the necklaces off to the left, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "Wait, is this pound jewelry?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I know Becca." I'm like, I don't know if she knows me, but I know of her, and I know the line and the company, and they're based in St. Louis, and that's where I moved from, and I got it and I put it on, and that was such an initiation for me because, and I want to say it maybe wasn't like the catalyst for my initiation, but it was certainly my one of my guides through it, and
Mm-hmm.
sort of a light through my initiation because I wore it all the time. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not someone that wears jewelry all the time. And just because I'm like very sensitive, and so like things touching my skin, I'm like always like I get home and I take my bra off immediately and stuff like that. But this necklace just like floats in this space, and I just love it so much. But it was certainly a guide in finding my voice, finding my power, finding my truth through my throat. And I mean, so many people I know have gotten one just from like seeing it on me and then being just like totally drawn into it. And I knew the work I was doing with women specifically was to help them come back to their center point and to click into their power. And so that I feel like for everyone that's gotten one, it's been a guide for them through their initiation. And I even have a client who messaged me on Voxer this week, and she's like, I mean, she's a powerhouse. Like she's a boss, and she just moves through things really intensely and really quickly, and she's built an incredible nutrition business, and she's just incredible. But she messaged me, she's like, my Herkimer broke, and I was like, man, you move through so quickly because she just like it that was her, she was finished with that specific medicine that it was bringing into our life, and it really initiated a lot of change really quickly. It's wild.
Wow. I love hearing somebody else's. A lot of Herkomers have been breaking, and they're very strong stones. Like they're not soft, they don't crack easily. But since the beginning of this Lionsgate time period portal until today, I have never been messaged more than I have in the last month about people breaking their stones or their stones just literally shattering. And somebody wrote me the other day and it was like, "What do you think it means?" And I was like, "What do you think it means?" And then she ended up saying something like, "Now that I reflected on what was going on in my life and the time period when I received this, what's been happening the last month, and then what happened on that day that it broke in my life, it all made sense. And I feel so privileged to have had this crystal break because it is like they are powerful, energetic beings and they carry a lot of frequency and a lot of information and they take in a lot of energy and they transmute a lot of energy and they transmit a lot of energy. And so if you have something going on in your life that is creating a major shift, transformation, there's some sort of cauldron of alchemy that you're in, like the crystals are going to especially if you're wearing them or have them around, you're going to be experiencing that as well. And I remember when I first started studying the healing benefits of the stones, the two crystal workshops I went to, the women leading them were like, I have literally watched um like stones shatter in front of my very eyes when like I received a difficult, very challenging phone call or something. So I kind of feel like it's yeah, I like that, a privilege.
It's amazing. Yeah, they're so connected and carry so much wisdom and magic and truly like our little like you said beings and channels for medicine. So um and
Yes.
I didn't touch on this, but I love the program that you're working through because it's so you. And um, I remember the first time I came to your space in Topanga, and it was sort of like it was like the epitome of like a treehouse, literally.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was so enchanted, and Madeline was there, who's also such an enchanting being as well. Madeline Giles, who's just so wonderful and lovely and a true fairy. Um,
True
and
fairy.
we had this tea, true fairy, and we had this tea evening, and I was just so expanded. Like I was like, "Oh my gosh, people live in trees and they have little altars everywhere." Like it was just so expansive for me. And I remember walking into your space and you literally had I mean I could spend the whole time just and it was a little space, but I could just spend the whole time walking around looking at all of your tiny altars and all your your objects that carry magic and how in tune with them you are and were because you knew exactly where to place them to have a like a perfect interaction. It was just yeah, and then being at your place now in St. Louis, it's the same way. You know, it's a little bit bigger and it's not a treehouse, but it's just coated in magic. So I love that about you.
Yeah, that's thank you for saying that. And I think that that is definitely part of my blueprint. I mean, your house, I gotta say too, like your house, I could walk around your apartment house and take pictures all the live long day as well. Not to mention your Snow White aspect of like having birds come land on your fingers basically, and you're like saving the world of you're like the animal whisperer over there with like totally so much beauty and just so much uh grace and elegance and clean, clear white space, but with like your talisman table that you have that you with all of your found objects, you know, the seashells and the sticks and the roots and the stone beings and crystals. So you carry that as well. And then it's like, and then I think that's what I love about the jewelry is that it's like I love making altars and I feel their power so much. And people have been making altars and mandalas and um, creative adornment objects since, again, the beginning of time. But it's reminding us that our bodies are the altars too, you know? And I struggle with
Mm.
really caring for my body in a lot of ways. I've struggled with, um, it's like a lot of times I can't be bothered to take the time to make myself a nourishing meal. I can't be bothered to take the time to drink the amount of water that I'm supposed to drink. I have nervous system, you know, I mean, I think everyone has something going on with their nervous system, but there is this the the adornment piece helps me remember to slow down and to take that moment in time to take that moment of time to give myself something, say thank you to my body because it's working all the time. Um, and then symbolically, like you were saying, when you found your Herkimer, I think you were going through quite a transition, right? I think you had just moved from St.
Yes.
Louis.
Oh, huge. I went through a divorce. Um you know, I'd lived this very specific life that was very linear and beautiful in so many ways, but just like I felt this desire to disrupt that. It was sort of like Women That Run with Wolves, that that narrative of like needing to burn it all down, like I needed to destroy that, similarly to you, that idea that everything needed to be perfect and I needed to follow the rules and I needed to follow this path that had been laid out for me, and the rebelliousness that I felt to disrupt that and to follow my heart and to follow my intuition that was guiding me into it, like into the complete unknown. Like there was nothing I knew about what I was doing and where I was headed, but that I was following my heart. And it led me to Topanga, and I didn't know why because Arlo and I had spent so much time, like 3 months, traveling all up and down the coast and through the West, and I didn't really want to live in LA because I don't love big cities, and there were just aspects of it that I wasn't drawn to, but then Topanga just like it's a vortex and it just drew me in and I clicked in and you were here, and the it felt like the Herkimer was an anchor in a lot of ways for me to find the direct path to what I was meant to work with, the medicine I was calling in, and it provided a lot of clarity, I think, too. And I started my other podcast that like the year later, but probably only like 8 months later after the Herkimer, and it's, I mean, I still have the same one. It has, the chain is broken, but you fixed it for me because I'm
Yep.
stubborn and I was like, I'm not done with this one. But it's, I love what you mentioned about that the adornment process, the process of adorning yourself in something that holds symbolism and meaning in medicine is a ritual in and of itself, and it's I love ritual because it slows us down and it helps us click into our bodies to, which is essential in really being connected to self. And um I think ritual really does provide a space for introspection and also finding intention, and so I love that you mentioned that the jewelry can be a part of the process of connecting with self, and really an embodiment practice in a way, because it's selecting something intentionally to either because it's something your eye resonates with the beauty of it, your heart resonates with it, with the beauty of it, or there's intuitively medicine within that stone for you. So and altars are just so fun, and that's actually where soul archaeology came from, was my archaeological table that someone came to my place one time and they're like, "Are you an archaeologist?" And I was like, "Yes, I am."
Oh, that's
Actually.
awesome. That's awesome. That's my
Yeah.
favorite part about your house. That's really, really cool because it's a work of art, that table. Like that table, you can get lost in that table and then just wondering where all of these things came from. And then the perfection of such a simple found object from nature and how perfect it is, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
perfect decoration. The world is decorated. And I think that's the other thing, is just to slow down and take the time to tune into that, because we there's also so much going wrong. And so it's hard, not to get bogged down by that. But I think
Yeah.
the jewels, the adornments, the crystals, the stones are ways for me to kind of remember that the earth is such a powerful, beautiful, breathing, that it's everything, and that we're a part of it. And and yeah, and it's, the birth of this jewelry business has like followed, just like your crystal, your Herkimer has been in a way a little guiding light, or serve just as a physical representation, something like a touchstone, a literal touchstone to go back to for intention or a safe spot. It's served that for my family, like my mom, my sister, and I. We are all very familiar with the art of, the dark night of the soul. I would say we all,
Mhm.
have had some pretty intense ruptures, but that to me is kind of the metaphor is my mom and I both have Scorpio moon. So on an emotional side, in the we really go down low to come back up. And I think that's this for me been this metaphor that's helped me so much is that as a crystal lover, there is this spelunking aspect of like having to go deep into the caverns and the depths in order to retrieve the treasures to bring them back up to the light. And that's just been so, whatever, I think that is also my force of life, my own personal force of life is to find the magic and the meaning in everything. Otherwise, things just get really boring for me, you know?
Yes.
I'm just like, what?
I
It's,
love that. Yeah.
yeah.
And your Scorpio moon's conjunct Uranus as well in your 3rd house. So you and I wanted to mention this too because if you're not familiar with pound, well now you are. And if you're not familiar with with the newsletter and your Instagram, I'm always blown away by your ability to channel words, channel magic through your words. And having your Scorpio moon and Uranus conjunct in your 3rd house, it's like you are a channel for the depths. Like you're a channel for that the alchemy and the magic that's held in the depths of this lived experience and beyond. And I think that I love that this I want to say company, but it feels weird calling it a company really, but I guess it is technically. It's been a guide for you guys in so many ways through your own initiations and through your own dark night of the souls. And I just find it so fascinating and so inspiring that you've let this journey guide you to your more aligned self and living in alignment with even though like of course like the world is very chaotic and we're all going through these big initiations and there's so much medicine in that process. You also have followed your heart and allowed it to guide you where you're meant to be. And I'm sure these stones and pound itself will continue to guide you through that process, and it's so cool. And I mean, yeah, and your mom and Mia are just both such magical beings as well, and you're also different but have a through line of play and fun and joy and humor, and it's felt.
Mm, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a wild ride, and the joy and the humor and the playfulness. That's very key. It's a key ingredient to keeping us sane and keeping us, um, from running away from each other, because at times there are moments when you're working with your family that aren't there's a lot of dynamics there. So but yeah, bringing things back to humor and light playful, it's this inner child place, that I think is really a huge part of Pound. And also I see Pound as her own, being her own. She has her own situation and essence, and kind of her own assignments for us. And then we do our best to listen. And I have probably with this Scorpio moon Uranus conjunct in the 3rd house, exactly as you're saying, it's like my ability to hear her and give voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because it is so um I don't know if anyone listening knows this, but you can actually pull the birth chart of your business. And so like when I launched this podcast, I chose a very specific day and like down to the minute, 6:28 a.m. when there were certain aspects happening within my own chart to birth this podcast because I wanted it to carry a specific essence and intuitively like it happens that way. So if you pull the birth chart of your business, it has its own energetic um, framework and it has its own really just generator. Like it has intentions, it has an essence, it has evolutionary goals just like we do. And so it's so cool to allow it the space to breathe and to organically unfold as it's meant to. And yeah, do you know anything about the birth chart of Pound?
God, I wish I did. It's hard because I thought about that. I have a lot of friends who are astrologers now, but um, one in particular who was talking about that, like the birth of her oracle deck, the birth of her business. And I'm like, oh my God. So when she tells me the astrology chart of her businesses, I'm like, that's just like, it's so right on. Like it's undeniable. And so I love that you did that. And I listened to your podcast on it, on the birth chart of your, on your podcast, the birth chart of your podcast. I listened to it on your podcast and I was like, oh yes, that is so resonant and so aligned. And so with Pound, I've tried figuring it out. It's a little hard because part of me is like, around what time did I find that necklace in the basement of my mom's house on Thanksgiving when I was going through a mental health crisis and physical crisis? Uh, and then some people are like, it's when you launched your first website. I'm like, that first website it was a little rough, but I have no idea. I would definitely say, I mean, I was sort of aware, but also totally not aware at that time in my life. And then we relaunched the website when I was living in Chicago, but again, like no idea. So I kind of feel like the birth of Pound was really when I found that first necklace.
Yeah,
Like
I enjoyed
that's
it
what
from
I
that level.
feel. That's what I feel.
Yeah,
And so maybe I could go back and channel. I can definitely find out because I remember it was on Thanksgiving and
yeah,
I couldn't tell you the exact year right now in this space, but I can figure that out and then I can maybe channel a time, And it
yeah.
might not
You
be
could totally
exact,
channel
but
time.
you know, I think it
It's okay.
works.
No, I love it. I think it works, and honestly, you're so in tune with her anyway. It would just more so be fun to kind of like you know, look at the actual chart itself. But you're so in tune with her and her medicine and her what she needs and where she's headed. So, let's talk a little bit about and like any specific stones you're working with currently that you're excited about. I know your pendulums are we haven't even talked about the pendulums, but I've been so called to pendulums lately, and I never work with pendulums, but I swear every day someone brings up pendulums, and so I've been meaning to reach out and I need to order one from you.
Yeah, the pendulums are awesome. I'm wearing a pendulum right now under my shirt, which is phosphosiderite, which I don't work with that often, honestly, because it's a pretty rare stone. It's from South America. It's got this like lavender color to it, which I don't have the
Ooh.
best light in here right now. And I have a sunstone on top of it. Um, I'm wearing this one just because I love the chain and the feel of it. And I love the color and the spottedness of this. It's also peaceful, calming, gentle, soothing, which I like to have on me when I am going to be like speaking or doing something different or new or outside of my norm. But I should have worn obsidian if I was going to, if I was, but it doesn't matter because everything's perfect. The thing is that I'm working with right now, a lot of is obsidian, to be honest. And it's interesting because
Ooh.
obsidian started coming to me, and I see you with a black stone for a pendulum, which is not,
Ooh.
it's not really you, like everything we just said about you. But I see you with this dark black stone for energy work. And I think obsidian would be good, or black tourmaline, but I'm really feeling obsidian for you because obsidian actually isn't a stone or a crystal. It's what crystallizes or forms when lava cools.
I just
And
got full body chills.
And so it's got this really powerful alchemy to it. And it's connected to me, it's connected to obviously volcanoes and this like eruption, but it has this very sharp edge to it. So obsidian was used to make arrowheads out of and to make knives out of. And this was like during cave times and tribal times. And because it was so sharp, it was like one of the first it's not a crystal or stone, but it's known as a mineraloid and used as like a weapon. And so I'm not a proponent of weapons, but I am a proponent of like energy that for me, which I've been feeling a lot lately, is just like I know that I'm complete with the energy, but it's still clinging to me. Or I know I'm complete with a habit, but I haven't been able to cut it out. And so I didn't choose obsidian because I knew what it was. Obsidian just started showing up. And it's sort of like when something starts showing up, start paying attention. Um, and then I started, because I just never was drawn to it. I knew what it was. It looked like glass. It's black. I was just like, why would I ever want to do anything with that? And then it just started showing up over and over and over, even at like the most random of places, such as Black Madonna Shrine in the middle of nowhere, St. Louis, Missouri, that place, Black obsidian everywhere. And I'm like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You're not from here. Like, what's up
Oh
with
my
you? And
God.
I'm like, and it started coming to me in dreams as like these black threads that it was like kind of gross, but it was just where stuff that was gross in me, which I'm all good with like some of my grossness, and some of my grossness I'm like I'm done with that part, like, like
Yep.
some of my grossness I'm like cool, this is who I am, and some of my darker bits I'm like that actually isn't mine, or that is, I don't know what that is, or I was willing to invite you in for a while and now you got to go. That's what
Yes.
obsidian does. Helps clear that.
Oh my God. Well, you're spot on because I feel that I've been like really working with like very, very strong energetic boundaries and very getting very clear and precise and cutting through, my dissociation, but also like the ways in which my mind can kind of like create stories to um mute my intuition, and so
Yes.
yeah, like I've been very much in my sort of like Kali, like warrior energy lately. So channeling that Aries North node, it just feels, my Mars is in Aries, but it's retrograde. So it's like it's something I'm cultivating and getting more familiar with, and that just feels so, yeah, it just reminds me almost like of Artemis or something, and just allowing that direct that direct cutting through to the truth and to what my needs actually are. So I mean, you're such a clear channel, and that's something I mean, one of the many things I love about you so much is your ability to really channel um clarity and truth for yourself and for others. And anytime I talk to you, I'm like, man, you're so spot on. That's exactly it. So I
Yeah, and
love
then the
it.
pendulum. I love that the pendulums have been like, you said that to me like a week ago or a few days ago, and you were like, pendulums are coming up. I need to get a pendulum. And pendulums are just, us creating the pound pendulum was a total accident. I will not lie. My mom had this pound fist, which is like a symbol of empowerment. We loved it. Everything was handmade, so we loved using hands. And then the pendulum, she was like, I have this crystal and it's shaped like this and I'm going to use it. And she did. And that was it. Like, people wanted them. And we started researching other stones that could be made into pendulums, stones that were already used as pendulums. And then how do we use pendulums? And then it was so clear. It was like, oh, right. Like, it's a tool to tap into your intuition. It's a tool to bring yourself back to a state of balance. It's a tool that's been used for thousands of years to find underground treasure and water and metal. It's a tool that you don't have to use a crystal. You can use any symmetrically weighted object on a string, and it can show you in an external, tangible way what your insides are telling you is right or wrong or yes or no for you
Mm.
in that moment. And so I love that you brought that up, and also because you do so much energy work. So it's like they help open and clear um, energies that are blocked. And then they can also help you clear your energy after working with other people so that you don't take on the stuff. And then I also feel that a lot of women that I see in the world who either I know personally or know of that wear pound um, often wear these like herkimer chokers, a lot of them do, or some sort of other like talisman that's specifically theirs for when they're doing the healing work, and then have a pendulum for doing work with others. And I just feel this sort of in all of them, maybe not every single one, but a lot of them, this theme in myself for sure, and a lot of my close friends of like really what you're saying, like this is I'm here to like spread the light and the magic and the beauty. And also, in order to do that, I have to be really solid in the truth of who I am. I'm asking for what I really need and not making up excuses or reasons to people please, or to
Mm.
kind of shift my intuition so that it can accommodate other people, you know, in a way that
I
doesn't feel right.
love that. That's some of my greatest medicine for sure. And it's, yeah, I've been working a lot. I've been working a lot. I mean, people are really um, moving through a lot right now, so I've been very busy and working with my clients and similarly to you, something I struggle with is really caring for myself and my body, and it's something that I'm like it's my constant it's constantly my medicine. And so those I've been wearing my shaman belt with my labradorite right at my solar plexus, but that I feel like the obsidian near my heart would be so super powerful too. And I love it. Yeah, and the pendulum in particular, I think it's incredible because there's so many different modalities and ways to use it, and just using it very intuitively. And then you can also like there's many systems that use a pendulum, right, to kind of to channel essentially.
Totally.
Yeah.
So many systems. Like, the thing I love about it as a necklace is that you can wear it and get the healing benefits of the crystal or the stone, and it's a beautiful adornment. And then the other thing I love about it, let's see if I get this off with my headphones, but the other thing I love about it is, and pendulums are great with like yes no questions, and I've actually been using them. I go through phases where like I won't use them at all, and then I'm in a phase right now where I'm using it all the time. So even to ask it like, should I eat this, or should I, like, I'll like put it over food and see like if it goes clockwise, it's like a yes. If it's counterclockwise, it's like no. And it's stuff I already know, but it's just so that the pendulum and I can kind of reconnect. But people use them for clearing chakras. People use them for finding ley lines. When I was in Ireland, we went to all
Mm.
of these sacred stone sites, and the pendulums, there were these like a few stone circles and places where there was like high amounts of energy. And a lot of the women I was with had pendulums, and that they were like going crazy. And we used them in this woman's house who knows she has ley lines. The pendulum could find the ley lines because that's what, if you attune to your pendulum and you believe in it, so you kind of get out of your logical linear mind, so that like doubting, like I don't know, like I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing, like sort of unveil that, then it's insane in the membrane, watching how the pendulum can like find the energy. Love them.
Oh my gosh. It's so incredible, so magical. I need to go on a pendulum journey. I'm excited about that. It feels like the next layer of my crystal work, and it really is fascinating how I mean, something I'm so passionate about is looking at how all different cultures have used different tools and objects as talisman and as for healing and for symbolism. And it's just, yeah, especially places like Ireland and the North. In that way, I'm so connected to those lands, and I'm so excited you were able to go and go on that journey. It just looked incredible. So
Yeah, I can totally see you going there, and I can definitely see you with your dark obsidian pendulum going on a journey and like um just getting to know each other. Like I can just that just feels really right. Feels really right to me.
yeah, I love it. Amazing. So any other projects you guys are have in the works? Any stones you're excited about working? We just launched a Lionsgate collection, which is mind blowing.
Yes, so we just did a Lionsgate collection. Before that, we did a fairy collection because I had just gone back from Ireland and I was like, well, I went to Ireland and I mean, fairy magic everywhere. And I really connected to the energy of the Fae. And it was on the summer solstice, and we went to this big fire ceremony. And it was just the evidence of the nature beings and the portals to the other realms where these devas and um, trolls and gnome energies lived and exist. They were just everywhere. Like when you walk into when we went into a couple of these like old oak forests and into the bogs and the stone circles, it was is like that undeniable that these beings, maybe you can't see them all the time, but you could certainly feel them. And so the enchantment of that and the remembering of that, and again, going back to that inner child open mind where anything was possible and you could feel way more of what was possible because you were open to it. I brought that back with me, and then we created the fairy collection, which was so fun. Then Lionsgate was coming, and that was more back to the like power, like rooted solar plexus, root chakra, fire, Sekhmet, Isis energies, which my mom is very connected to. And so we created from that space. And then now we are really in this space of like opening. I'm really in this space right at this moment that we're speaking where I'm being guided to listen for what wants to come through next. And there's nothing like it's this moment of almost pause, and it's very uncomfortable because I don't know what the next thing exactly is. And also, that's okay because I think it's a moment to look into what all of the things that are already here that are wanting to be remembered. Like, thank you for bringing up the pendulum because the pendulum has been like the foundation, a huge part of the foundation of our business, as have the essence of play and creativity and magic. And my sister and I out in the woods, like taking photos with jewelry and things shining in the light, like that is what's wanting to kind of be rerouted so that the next thing can kind of grow. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. I love it. There is a theme of a theme of returning right now, and like
Yeah.
returning to the foundations, returning. I mean, we are in such a heavy retrograde period, so it's really there's a remembering happening and sort of a subterranean recalibration occurring, I think. So I love that you um while I'm saying that, a fly just dropped into my water, so I'm gonna help him out and um so he's not in the underworld of my water.
Yeah. I mean, come out, Anana.
Exactly. And it's true, and I love that you're just being present with the messages that are held in this in between space, because I know so many people are in that, like just kind of waiting for the assignment, waiting for the next the next channel to open, the channel of medicine that we're meant to work with. And so there's so much beauty in that in between, and in the in between, returning to the foundations. And so I'm glad we got to talk about the pendulums. And if you are someone who is working on reconnecting to self, I oftentimes recommend pendulums to people because it is a way to attune to your own inner voice, and to have sort of a guide in that, and a team member in a way, like a companion in attuning to
Yes.
your own inner voice. And you can do that, and it's like, I mean, a lot of people use oracle cards and or tarot, and those are incredible, but I think the pendulum is a way to fine tune your inner voice. And so I'm excited to see if you guys purchase a pendulum, let us know, and we can just, I'd love to hear about it, how your journey with it goes. So yeah.
Totally. And like a great way to pick a pendulum is like the element you're working with. Is it earth? Is it fire? Is it air? Is it um, water? And then because different stones will have different elements. And then also, yeah, just what calls to you. And usually the darker stones are more root and they're more grounding or they're more protective. And the lighter, clearer stones are more for like ascension or connecting to guides and other dimensions and hearing insights. And the blue ones are so good for like pineal gland and intuition, but also like have that flow of water. So it's just we would totally love to hear. And it's just such a good reminder. Having these conversations is such a good reminder for where when we sometimes build medicine or offer it but don't use it ourselves. And yeah, and it's like
So
such a
true.
good reminder to go back.
To go back to the roots for sure, and where we all began. And this is a question I wanted to ask. Does your mom make all the jewelry? I don't know if I know this. I don't think I've ever asked you
Yes.
this. She
Yeah, so my
does.
mom, Linda Kannapell, is she hand makes all of the necklaces. When we first started Pound, it was like way more statement pieces, but anyway, I won't get into that. It doesn't matter. What matters is, yes, she hand makes everything. We have an assistant who helps her. Um, she is the genius, like component creator. She can like take an idea or a concept, which I'll often with my Uranus in the third house conjunct the moon be like, I'll just explode some bibble babble nonsense at her, and she'll take that like really obscure, abstract, nonsensical jargon from me, which will be like, I want it to be like a cotton candy butterfly that's stuck up in a poof cloud over a dreamcast. And she'll be like, got it. And then she'll be like, and then she'll be like, take an opal with like a white stone, So like we play a lot, but she puts it all together. Or I'll say like
Amazing.
this stone, this stone, this stone, and she'll make them happen. Um, and so yeah, she sits at her table and makes jewelry a lot of the day. And my sister does, as you know, because you are our model, photography and cinematography and graphic design, and helps me with concepts and collage magic and anything I need, like that needs to be done on the computer for creation's sake or for branding, packaging. She does that. But yeah, I mean, we've been talking for a while, so I don't know when you want to shut me down, but like when we went on that
You're good.
journey, that was so fun too, because we were connected in Topanga, you and I, though we're both from St. Louis, or I'm not originally from here, but whatever. And my sister spent a lot more time than I did, even in St. Louis. And then we reconvened in Topanga where you and I met, all of us kind of native St. Louis in Topanga. And the reason I moved to Topanga was because of that labyrinth at the top of Fern Hill Road or whatever it is. And that's where we did a majority of our Pound jewelry photo shoot, which I just thought that was a really powerful, like full circle experience. Um, and just opened up a lot of like gates of remembering and connection to the animal and nature world there. So that was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was so incredible. And it was during an eclipse as well. So, which is just, it
Yes.
was during I can't remember what type of eclipse it was, but it was along the Scorpio Taurus axis. So it was like it was a big
Full
one.
moon,
And
full moon in Scorpio.
yeah, yep, it was huge. And I was so honored to be a model, which is very uncomfortable for me. Once again, the crystals were cracking me open and providing, initiation to for me to be seen and to kind of like love all of my parts, even though it's a very intimate process being photographed. So thank
Totally.
you for that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just thank you so much for being here, for sharing your gosh, you're just a well of magic and wisdom, and it feels like it never ends. And I know you're always studying and learning more and growing, and I just appreciate that so much about you. And it's really what this podcast is about. And so thank you for being here. You're
Thank you so
amazing.
much for having me. Yeah, I just feel like you're definitely a soul sister. I love everything you do and you inspire me a lot. Like, I realize that I have a lot of words in me and it's very, very uncomfortable and scary to get out and do and put yourself out there on social media. And you do that. And it really is, um, like it's one of those things where having watched you from the beginning to now, just watching your evolution and how you just keep standing for yourself and you keep standing for where you're going and what your soul is asking you to do, and it's really a beautiful journey to witness, and I'm just really grateful to be here with you.
Thank you so much. That means the world. And soul sister for sure, absolutely. Um, how is there anything else you'd like to announce, or I'd love to share with everyone how they can find you, number one, on Instagram, social media, and your website, which contains all of the magical crystal beings within it.
Yeah, we're on Instagram. It's just Pound Jewelry, POUNDJEWELRY. And then poundjewelry.com is our website. Those are the two main places that we are. Um, Actually, this in the last few months, we're starting to get into some like physical places that are new to us, like Kripalu Yoga Center. There's a place called South Hall near Tennessee that's like a farm in wellness center.
Mm.
Miraval, hopefully in Austin and maybe Tucson. Just these kind of like retreat centers, wellness, embodiment places that offer a wide range of connection back to self. A lot of the places have labyrinths on their land too, which I love. And so, yeah, some new places, so that those will all be announced on our website and Instagram if you're wanting, if you live in any of those places. And of course, they're not that many yet, but we'll see what happens. But Instagram, our website, and then myself, and I are have been studying astrology for the last few years. So I'm also going to be offering some offering astrology readings connected to, which I feel like will be definitely fused with a lot of the crystal work that I've done and that I do.
Love it.
And yeah, so I don't have a page for that yet. I just decided yesterday that it was time to build a page for that. That will be coming soon too.
Love it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that makes me so happy to hear. This has been such a big part of your journey. So I'm excited to hear that you're unearthing that from this Venusian underworld journey time and choosing to emerge with a website and your offering. So congratulations on that. You're very gifted. So I want a reading from you.
Mm. I want a reading. I
Yeah.
want a reading from you like every day. I'm always like, how much is too much to text your friends?
Never, never. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much, love, for being here. Tell your mom, Linda, and Mia hello, and thank you for sharing all of your wisdom. And yeah, if anyone is wanting to explore more about crystals, I think your Instagram and your newsletter, actually, you do a wonderful job of sharing
Yes.
astrology and crystal alignments. And so if you're interested in a product, or a talisman or a guide through your transformation, I would highly recommend checking their website out, their Instagram, and also the new locations, which is great. And I love that you're starting to expand physically as well too, because those are all really great places. So
Yeah,
awesome.
we used to be in a lot of like smaller boutiques, and then the pandemic happened, and then that kind of went away, and then now it's just sort of shifting a little bit. So we're shifting, and
Yeah.
yeah, so certain audiences that are calling them in, and they're ready. They're like, yeah, where we are called, we will go. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I love it. Shifting with the world. One thing I didn't mention is that in the giveaway that we're doing, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the giveaway that we're hosting to celebrate the launch of this podcast. One of the beautiful offerings within the giveaway box is a pound Herkimer necklace, which is the one that we've been talking about and the one that I wear all the time. And I received it, I think it was Wednesday, and I did an unboxing video and it's very embarrassing, so I might redo it, or I might just post it because who knows. But yeah, like influencers, a lot of kudos to you because it's so hard to do something with one hand. But it is truly the most, I think it's the prettiest Herkimer I've ever seen. Like the shape of it is just, it's incredible, and I can feel it's some, I know it's someone's obviously, but I can kind of feel into that person, and I'm so excited for them to have it. But if you yeah, so you can win a beautiful piece of pound in the giveaway as well. And so, and there's a few other beautiful products, and you can look on in the show notes for that information. But in order to enter the giveaway, I just ask that you rate, I have to remember all this. You have to rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify and Apple, and then just share an episode on social media, making sure you tag me because otherwise I won't be able to see it. So if you'd like to win the giveaway, which I'm announcing next week, there's still time. And thank you so much, my dear, for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, the beautiful weather in St. Louis.
yeah, it's beautiful here today, and thank you so much. This was really fun. I love you so much, and keep doing what you're doing because it's just awesome, and I'm loving every second of it.
Thank
So, thanks for having me
you.
here.
Thank you for being. Love you. Thank you all for being here as well, for your presence, for your beauty. And I will talk to you in the next episode.